Quite an unusual sight, last seen in the first quarter of 2021. Lagos residents woke up to have a taste of what has been on for some days in Abuja: queues and frenetic efforts to buy petrol. The story, however, is not the same across Lagos metropolis. So while some fuel stations have lines of vehicles waiting to be filled, at other locations, it's as good as a regular day. Drive in and be filled. Of course, situations like this aggravates motorists who hate to recall experiences of the past.
I wonder why we have this kind of things recurring. For about 2 years now, it's been fine. Not had issues about fuel. All of a sudden, we heard yesterday in Abuja, on the island, that now it's come to Lagos. Frankly, I'm worried.
Nobody's addressing, no formal statement from anybody. We just cannot get fuel. We cannot go about to our daily activities. I'm supposed to be at work right now. I cannot work. I have to look for fuel up and down.
The situation in Lagos is nowhere compared to that of the nation's capital, Abuja. Long queues of vehicles waiting for fuel at petrol stations. This has been the situation for the past few weeks and counting. The situation, which has gone unabated, calls for concerns as some motorists ask the relevant authorities to address the situation.
So if it is that they want to increase the pump price, let us know. Let's just have a definite, full stop to this.
For now, all eyes are on the regulatory agencies in the downstream sector. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Well, I'm sure you've experienced it, or at least you felt some of the anxiety. We have in our studios this morning people who can tell us what exactly could be going on in the particular sector. We expect that there will be some relief soon, but in the meantime, what is the problem and how can we resolve it? We have with us Mr. Billy Gillis Harry, who is the National President, Petroan, that's the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning. We also have with us Mr. Chinedu Okoronkwo, who is the president of IPMAN. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you, Margaret, for having me.
So let me start with you, Mr. Okoronkwo. What precisely is the issue? You had the independent marketers, is that correct?
Very well.
In Abuja, it's been a different kettle of fish. We've been seeing the queues. I don't know if you live in Abuja or you live in Lagos or you operate out of Abuja or Lagos. Where do you operate from,
I operate from Abuja here.
So I'm sure you've been seeing the queues here in the FCT.
Good.
And people have been asking, what precisely has been the matter, at least first here in the FCT?
I think the matter is so open that everybody knows what has happened in the system. Off-spec petroleum was brought in, and people began to see some of the damages going on, and the relevant authorities have also come up plainly to say, yes, this is what has happened. But in that system, any disruption of maybe 2 or 3 days can escalate the issue up to 1 week. That is what we are suffering. But I can tell you for free that that product has also been removed from the market. But the repos already, cost is still there. And I believe in that before the end of this week, everything should normalize. There is nothing to worry about.
Did IPMAN know that before now?
We did directly with the product. So when it happened, we also alerted relevant agencies of government. And they went into action and discovered what has happened. And they have removed that petroleum, that contaminated one now. The new ones are coming. You can also see that some stations have started selling, but the problem already caused is humongous and is still there.
So that already happened. It seemed that the people in Abuja already heard before the people in Lagos, because while Abuja was already feeling the pinch of petrol scarcity, or some people say it was hoarding, I'm not sure which one it was, but we saw the queues. While they're already feeling the pinch, Lagos was still experiencing normal supplies and many other parts of the country. What was responsible for Abuja feeling the pinch first?
Well, it all depends. Even in Port Harcourt, it was felt. When I traveled last week, we discovered that some areas have that problem. So it's not only about Abuja. It was in everywhere, but the whole idea is that Abuja, because being the capital territory, everybody here will always feel something very, very hard when it happens. So it wasn't like it was only for Abuja. Those who collected the product elsewhere also had similar problem. Even my tanker had it was loaded, and the driver said, this is what they are saying. I said, okay, pack and let us see how we can get it out. And it was decanted back to the tank farm, So it's not something only Abuja felt, the whole nation felt it. But I can tell you for sure, for free, that that problem has been solved. But the ripple already is there. So believing that before the end of the week, it should be cleared.
How big a problem, and that is if this was the same problem for retail outlet owners, how big a problem was this for you?
Well, it's quite a big problem. The challenges that are felt by any of the marketing associations, whether it's MOMAN, DAPMAN, IPMAN, is felt by the retail outlets, because the retail outlets, are part and parcel of the entire, petroleum downstream marketing chain. We are the last mile. We are the most critical last mile in the chain. So we feel it the most, because at the retail outlets, that's where the difficulty is felt. The users are dealing with the retail outlets, and that is where they will start to feel the terrible, confusion that is already on.
Did you get to know before these products were supplied to you? Or was it after the product? I don't, excuse me, I do not know if some of your members experienced this bad petrol being supplied to them before they eventually realized that this is what has happened. And if that is what has happened, I mean, assuming they were supplied this adulterated fuel, did they add it to what they already had in stock? Or, how big an impact was it for them?
Well, it was a very big impact on every retail outlet that has product. Because the moment you take 45,000 liters of petroleum product and you decant it into your storage tank, obviously it's going to affect whatever that has been there. But the good news with us was that once we discovered this on the 2nd of February, we started trying to investigate what the issues were. And we got to find out that out of just a simple error, of, transportation and maybe chemical, balance, we have a product that can easily be, oxidized. And by that action, it starts to, bring different kinds of product. Otherwise, the testing that was done in the product initially showed that it was pure petrol, it was pure PMS. But when you expose it, that's when it started having those difficulties. So, of course, people will buy it without knowing it. But once our members got to know that that was a problem, our instruction to all retail outlets is, hold on, let us get back to the depots to find out. And from the depots, we found out that, there was a common problem that's happening in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Calabar, Katsina, Benin, everywhere has the same problem. So long as that product was lifted from that particular stock. So it's not something we knew before. It's something that we knew after the fact.
2nd of February was the day you said you discovered.
Well, that's when the outcry became very loud, because vehicles that had loaded from our retail outlets were already starting to complain. Vehicles were getting bad. They're trying to get our members arrested. And of course, we have to immediately come into the scene to know exactly what the issues were. So that is just what it is. But today, we can see that the authorities have accepted exactly and explained to the public what has happened. So these products that had this challenge, they are being isolated, and we hope that that's going to be very successful. Of course, that's what Petroan is doing. That's what I believe IPMAN will do. That's what I believe MOMAN will do. That's what even DAPMAN will do. Try to assist the authorities to make sure that that contaminated petroleum product don't go back into the market. And everybody is working hand on deck, NMPC, PPMC, the authority, the associations, we're all working to make sure that Nigeria is up and running again.
Okay. Well, there's talk that this has been withdrawn, that it has been withdrawn from the market.
Yes.
I just heard you say that all of the associations are working to help the authorities. Is it withdraw the petrol or ensure it doesn't come back? Which one?
No. Once the product has been detected, and the authorities have also called our attention to say, hey, this is compromised product, isolate it. Of course, we have to isolate it immediately. So if we have 3 tanks, for instance, and the products are in one, then that tank must not sell again. The other ones will continue to sell. So what we are doing is, of course, once you have put in the product, it will contaminate. So what do? We try to look out for how we can, sieve the product and isolate those particular compartments that have problem, because that's what the authorities have requested us to do, and that's what we're doing. And that will go a long way to
sieve the
problem.
product.
Well, if there is, bad fuel in one particular compartment, you don't have to discharge it again.
Okay, to seal it.
You just have to keep it.
Okay.
So you don't, because
what I heard is that it has been withdrawn. What I imagined is that this petrol will now have to be, is it taken away from the retail outlets back to the depot where it was, gotten from, and then perhaps, I don't know whether there'll be onward transmission to, or whatever it is that the NNPC would like to do with it then. But well, it doesn't look like that is the process.
Well, the process is going to come. First, the first thing is the most critical. There is difficulty. Isolate that contaminated product, don't sell it again.
Okay.
So that is solution enough. Now, thereafter, the next steps will follow. Steps that will follow will simply be how we can be able to mitigate the difficulty by ensuring that the next levels of product that is coming out are all pure petrol, PMS. So that is not going to happen like the IPMAN president has said. There is no time you can say that's going to happen in 2 days. It has taken some time. This product has been, discharged into our retail outlet storage tanks. It has to be brought. It has to be brought out. So that in itself is a process. So, but what the government has done today is what any responsible authority should do. And for us as an association, we give kudos to them that I don't think that anybody intentionally imported pop fuel into the country. It must be just an accident of fate. So if it has happened and the authorities have accepted that, look, this is something that's wrong, and already instructions have been given to isolate, we must isolate.
Let me flip this to Lagos. I know my colleagues have questions for you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Well, gentlemen, we'd like you to listen to this comments from the NMDPRA, because we'd like you to shed some light on it for us. Just listen.
Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority wishes to inform the general public that limited quantity of petroleum product, PMS, commonly known as petrol, with methanol quantity above Nigerian specification, was discovered in the supply chain. Methanol is a regular additive in petrol and usually blended to acceptable quantity. To ensure vehicular and equipment safety, the limited quantity of the impacted products has been isolated and withdrawn from the market, including those loaded in trucks. Our technical team, in conjunction with NNPC and other industry stakeholders, will continue to monitor and ensure quality products are adequately supplied and distributed nationwide. So there is no need to panic. The source supplier has been identified, and further commercial and appropriate actions shall be taken by the authority as well as the NNPC. The NNPC Limited and all marketing companies have been directed by the authority to sustain sufficient distribution of petroleum products in all retail outlets nationwide to avoid any scarcity. Meanwhile, the NNPC has intensified effort at increasing the supply of petroleum products into the market in order to bridge any unforeseen supply gap.
Well, gentlemen, I'm sure the stakeholders in that sector, including yourselves, have had several meetings about some of these matters. Perhaps you still have more meetings. But if I could ask you, Mr. Okoronkwo, could you tell us, when he says that the sole supplier has been identified, who is this sole supplier? Can you tell us?
Thank you. I think this should be their internal problem. For us in IPMAN, we don't know who the supplier is. Our own is to, maybe if the ship comes in, take the product from the vessel to tank farm, those who have tank farm, and those who are buying from the tank farm will not take to their filling station. It should be their internal problem. And now that they have been able to discover who the culprit is, I think it's simple. But one thing Nigeria would like to know, who is this culprit? For us, we don't know who the culprit is.
So, but who did your shipment come from, the one you received?
We have one single source of getting this product, an NPC. And they have throughput with many tank farms, So by the time you pay through online, you'll be designated to tank farm where to load. And I believe that is what it is.
So help us understand this, really. So the NNPC is a sole importer of this product, right? And then it is taken to tank farms, and then people buy from there to take to their filling stations. How is petrol contaminated? At what point? Because we have regulatory agencies that are meant to check the quality of this product. So at what points really is, because you expect that whatever comes into the country, the methanol level should be tested. So is it what was brought in, or what was taken to the tank farm, or maybe during trucking? Where exactly did we have this challenge?
Very simple. From the statement from the Mr. Farouk, the supplier of an NPC, which means it should be from the vessel that brought it. It's simple. The chain of bringing in I think they have contractors that may be bringing product for them to now distribute. Is very, very simple. It's from the vessel that brought it in, and that is why it was easy for them to identify who the culprit is. I believe that is what has happened.
Well, Mr. Okoronkwo, allow me to assume that at least you will know what the process is. I mean, you've just given us a simple, idea of who does, how it comes into the country. But how about the process of step by step from vessel to who, before it gets to the tank farms, before it gets to you?
It's simple. In our system, the independent marketer will have two. Either you are a member of IPMAN or MOMAN. If you have your money, you could be given what they call offshore. That is from the vessel you can be allocated to go and pick. Those who don't have the money can also wait at the depots that brought this product into their tank farm. So that is the chain. But from what Mr. Farouk have said, it's very, very simple that it was from their supplier, maybe the vessel that brought it in, must have been the one that have contaminated this product. And it's simple. When it is from that is why you have almost everywhere, maybe those picking from Port Harcourt, Calabar, from the same vessel will have the same problem. I think that is what has happened.
The question that I'm asking is, does it go through any regulatory agency, any standards organization of Nigeria, any agency of government that tests for level or quality of these things before getting to you or to the marketers who dispense to Nigerians?
Apparently that is correct. Before the advent of this regulatory agency, we have DPR, whose duty was to test products coming in, even at the tank farm. They will test it and know what is there. I think it's not that you can't blend product with ethanol, but I think what has happened, maybe they overdid it, which, of course, they've been able to locate who has done it. And we'll take it from there.
So when you say they overdid it, who are the they that did this?
The supplier.
Okay.
They have identified who the supplier is. So the question now is for us to know who has done this to this nation. As simple as that.
Okay, so but do we have a standard of fuel that this country requires? And what is the standard?
We have standard. I think they have flashpoints for all the products. That is why when they want to bring, they will tell you an NPC specification. An NPC have their standard. I don't have the figure here, but if you go their website, you will see an NPC spec. So when you don't bring something within that spec, which means it's out of it, they have their standard. It's everywhere. You can, Google an NPC standard of product, AGO, PMS, and even DPK.
Okay, so could you tell us, do you know the amount of, the quantity of fuel that was brought in and contaminated, this particular incident?
I think that should be the internal data. For us, they are saying about 100 million liters. We don't have that data. But for those who have taken this product and they have asked to stop whatever thing they are doing with it, like Farouk have said, it's easily tracked now. Even those filling stations, from what Billy said and what we are doing, please don't send again, keep it. Let's see how to evacuate and let us get feedbacks on those who have problem with their vehicle and everything.
We asked this because it's not the first time that this country is witnessing bad fuel being supplied. And then you just ask yourself, look, there are supposed to be agencies, the standards which you spoke about, and then if you have 100 million liters, for crying out loud, nobody checks it to be sure that it meets the country standard, it gets to the country, gets to suppliers, gets to end users, before they can find out that it is even bad, and then they recall it. There's really so much going on. But at what point do they check if it meets our standard? Is it when it lands our shores here, or before it departs from where it's coming from?
Before the vessel will leave, there must be this bill of lading, putting all the specifications. Those people can lie to the NPC, look, this is what we have, and they will believe it on face value. But eventually when the thing comes here, they're supposed to also check. That is their duty. And I believe that is why they could easily dictate where this thing has happened from. Yes.
But, in the statement from the NMDPRA that we just listened to, the major points that talked about who might be responsible for this and what will be done was the part where he said the source supplier has been identified and further commercial and appropriate action shall be taken by the authority and the NMPC. But from what you have said, from that process, the authority, as it were, it used to be DPR, has a role to also test and ensure that we're getting the right kind of product. And that ball was dropped clearly. So should we be hearing perhaps a punitive effect or punitive action on...
I'm not sure they can hear you.
I'm not sure you can hear me, Mr. Okoronkwo.
Okay, so the thing we're trying to put across is the processes, because if they say they've identified the sole supplier, isn't it only one supplier that we have? So in other words, they should have said, well, this came from the NMPC, and so certain measures are being taken. Isn't that how it should have gone?
If you can hear me,
you have to recall it, because At a time, you people went off.
Yes. You'll have to repeat the question. I was trying to pass the message across that we had a little audio challenge here in Abuja. So please, if Kayode and Chairman would like to repeat the questions.
Right, so let me go first. My question is simple. The statement we heard from the NNDPRA just talked about the supplier who is at fault, as it were, but does not talk about our own regulatory agency that may have dropped the ball in, testing and ensuring that the product meets the standard. So shouldn't we be talking about that as well? Because, hey, the supplier can bring in anything, but it is our duty, our responsibility to ensure that whatever comes in meets that standard. Shouldn't that also be the point here?
Well, I think at this point in time, we don't need to blame the agency too much, because from the documentation, maybe they might even bring sample. Some of the compartments might not be that bad. So, but now they have also, in their own investigation, discovered, look, this is where this thing is coming from. For me, it's for them to let the whole world know who has done this. I think the proper thing to do is for them to get to the root, apportion blame where this blame should be, because a lot of people are suffering. Even the whole situation. When I was just coming to your studio here, I saw a lot of queues. I'm not happy, and nobody should be happy about it. It's not the way business should be done, in a manner that everybody will benefit.
Okay.
Somebody can do his manifest, look at what we have, even bring some sample from even that vessel, and believing that is it. It could go that bad.
All right, let me bring in Dr. Gillis Harry on this. Mr. Korenko, pardon me, we kept him waiting for a while. Mr. Harry, does retail owners do they test some of these products before you begin to dispense upon receipt?
Well, there are always standards to make sure that petroleum products received from every source means the PPMC depots and the private depots are already tested. We have the quality certification
from association, your members,
downstream authority. So that should suffice at all times to get us to where we need to go. However,
I'm talking about
like
your
this,
members.
Where, and I've said this earlier.
Can you hear me, Mr. Harry? I mean, your members, before retailing, do they test them?
Well, we will already rely on the certificate of quality that is issued by the authority at any of the depots, because we always will have the certificate of authority, quality, with us when we buy a product, which, by the way, is what we are now checking to enforce with our petroleum product passport technology that we are trying to introduce into the system and across the country in all retail outlets.
We had a conversation, you talked about this technology, and in fact, the technology was meant to also help us know how much petrol we consume on a daily basis in Nigeria, so a lot of prospects. But did you see this coming? Was that why you actually had to find a way to introduce this thing? Because you thought, wait a minute, the certificate of quality we get from the government agencies might not actually be, accurate, might not show the real picture. So let's find a way to also do this. Is that something you've noticed over time?
No. We have absolute trust in the certificate of quality issued by the former DPR, that's today the midstream and downstream authority. And as far as we know, that quality certification is adequate. The only thing that we introduced with that quality certification is to digitize it and make it to be available on the petroleum product passport. So it only helps to reduce the volume of paper that you carry along, because you have to carry your way bills, you have to carry the certificate of quality and all of that. But we did that because we have issues of adulterated, mostly diesel products, not PMS. And we were concerned that we are consuming much more diesel than we are selling, because the retail outlets are selling diesel which they buy from depots that are approved to import the diesel. And why will we be spending, burning so much diesel while we are selling so less? That was the very beginning of our concern. And of course, later on, we found out that this was going to assist in ensuring that it helps the government to mitigate, crude oil theft and adulterated products, and also smuggling of petroleum products out of Nigeria. So long as this technology is effectively used and is accepted nationwide.
Okay, well, Mr. Billis Harris, you heard Mr. Okoronkwo say the other time that there will be need to evacuate the bad fuel from circulation and then get the new ones in. On the one hand, this bad fuel is in the reservoirs of petroleum, dispensers such as your organization's members and all of that. How is that evacuation going to happen? And how long do you think this reversal will take before we come back to normal?
Well, let me bring a good news to you. You've heard Mr. Farouk, clearly define what the problem is and what the direction of finding solutions will be, and I do applaud that. Yes, it's very important that we should do everything possible to unveil whoever that is the culprit, because there are commercial consequences. There are image and integrity consequences. And it's very important that whoever that is involved in this is made to ensure that everybody involved in the system is adequately recompensated for.
Sorry.
Well, we have already started.
Can I just ask? Pardon me, just a minute.
To do that before this announcement yesterday.
Do we have more than one importer at the moment?
Well, for PMS, you've heard both the major marketers and independent marketers, and even us, Petroan, tell you that there is only one source for importing petroleum product that is known as PMS. It's only the NNPC.
Yeah, so that's where it is.
Diesel, a few other people bring it. Other products, because they are deregulated.
All right, if this is happening,
is only imported by NNPC.
Now, if this amount of negligence is going on when there's just one importer, shouldn't we be worried if we deregulate and several people are importing products? How will they check if they can't meet up with the standards now?
Well, as far as we are concerned, as a responsible and patriotic organization, we do believe that there's the need for all of us to be proactive in ensuring that our economy is stable. Petroleum product consumption, distribution is a very critical point in being a catalyst to grow the economy by all standards. So if there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 importers of petroleum product, we have a common regulator. That's the authority. And then everybody has access to be able to bring product. You can't bring product from anywhere you're bringing without it being tested. And also the effort by the authority will be made to be more robust. So I don't think that allowing for the regulations and then allowing for other companies to import will be anything wrong for the country. It will help the country because this is just one error. I mean, we've never had this level of difficulty prior to now. So we don't have to, break our balls for that. What I have said as president of Petroan is there should be no panic buying. The queues can reduce because there is fuel that will be sold from the genuine fuel that's coming. So really, it's a bad situation that we all should put hands and make sure that we repair it.
Okay, before I take this to Mark, wait, Mr. Okoronkwo, just help us understand this, really. So there are fuel queues across states in the country, there's scarcity as well. What exactly is responsible for this? Because this is largely being blamed on the bad fuel, but there's also the concerns, the fears that subsidy might be removed in February. So there are reports that people are hoarding, that there's the concern about panic buying, there's concern about inadequate supply, and then, of course, you add this bad fuel to it. So what exactly is causing the fuels? Because this bad fuel question just came up recently, and we've seen queues in Abuja way before that. So what exactly is causing the scarcity?
Well, I'll give it the best shot. I'll give it a good try, and
that's for Mr. Okoronko, actually.
Put you right in.
Dr. Kilisari, just a moment.
Thank you. Well, prior to the government coming out with their position that, look, we have to put this on hold, the subsidy removal, there could be some thinking and inkling of people. Maybe there could be price removal and things like that. So we might not 100% remove that. But eventually, when government now came out with their position, look, we are now going to suspend this thing for another 18 months. At that point in time, government have given out their, and they can't be going forth and back in this direction. So there was no need for anybody to begin to hoard, even though, remember, it takes a lot of money to do this business. You are hoarding. The people, the banks where you have collected this money, how do you pay them? Hoard for what? With the mega profit we are getting, I tell you, it's a business that everybody is excruciating going through. So the question of hoarding stopped immediately when government came out with that policy. Now, coming out from that policy, this issue of bad fuel came into, resurfaced. It's a system that I believe, like I've said earlier, with this position of Mr. Farouk and what we in IPMAN have seen, new fuel, good fuel, have started coming in. So if you look at some filling stations, you will also see that they are selling. But a lot of them have not gotten this new fuel, which we believe before the end of this week, give or take, everything should clear.
Well, there'll be the question of confidence returning to consumers. There'll still be those who will be afraid. Maybe they've only just heard the news. And I think, bad news spreads like wildfire.
That's correct.
There'll be those who say, look, I'm not sure the kind of petrol. I don't want to go and queue, and then I finish getting to the front, and what is sold to me is bad fuel.
Yes.
How do you hope to reinstate the confidence of consumers?
Oh, very simple. If you don't want to buy now, and you have seen people buying and they're not having problem, definitely you will.
Maybe the problem will come later.
No, it will not.
Do you have any addition to that?
Well, the reality is that I was going to say exactly what Mr. Okoronko has said. There's no reason for anybody to hoard petroleum products today. The issue is that we just came into this situation coming out from the expectations of the petroleum product being deregulated and so on and so forth. But right now, with the policy of government saying, look, we're reversing ourselves on this, and subsidy is not going to be removed. We're keeping it on hold for 18 months. There shouldn't be any reason for anybody to sell. The margin that we have as profit is so minimal that nobody would like to keep petroleum products sitting in his tank for more than necessary.
Yeah, I was talking about confidence on the part of the consumers.
Oh, okay. Well, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is simple. If I go to buy petroleum products with my car as a retail outlet owner and I'm driving, I'll put confidence back in you. The government has not come out to tell us any story that's not correct. They've told us the problem is that methanol got mixed above the approved quantity from Nigeria. So it's very clear.
Yes, damage already done. Will anybody be suing anybody?
Well, already there are people suing, there are people suing people.
It's something that we will aggregate and see how we work with the agency of government to see how to ameliorate this problem.
That's exactly what.
So you do expect that there will be some compensation?
There should be, because the customer is always a king. If buying fuel from any filling station causes any damage, even without this thing, maybe water, when you come, you'll be compensated. Now it's like a Nigerian problem. It's for us now to have our data, all the state and everything, compile them and see how we can interface with these agencies of government.
Okay, we'll see how it goes in the coming days. We have to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Mr. Billy Gillis-Harry is the National President of Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria. Petroan is a mouthful. Thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. And we also had Mr. Chinedu Okoronkwo, who is the President of IPMAN. Thank you so much for coming on, sir.
Thank you, Mark, for having us.
Well, we'll take a break at this point and we'll be back shortly with another topic. Please stay tuned.